Instructor's challenge. Make a weapon. Human finishes 47. Class still on their first Kael'thas stared at his datapad showing 47 completed designs next to the human's name while his best students were still calibrating their first prototype's power core. According to YouTube analytics, 98% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free. Wait, 47? That can't be right. He tapped the screen twice, then 3 more times. The number didn't change. Around him, the Advanced Weapons Engineering Laboratory hummed with the concentrated effort of the galaxy's finest military minds. Elite students from 12 species, each selected from billions of candidates, each representing the pinnacle of their civilization's martial intellect. 4 hours into the 6-hour final examination, 4 hours into what should have been the ultimate test of everything they'd learned across 3 cycles of intensive study. The challenge was elegantly simple. Design one functional weapon from the raw materials provided. One weapon. Demonstrate mastery of theory, application, and innovation. Talana, his top student, a brilliant Vexian who'd scored perfectly on every prior assessment, was still running thermal dissipation calculations on her plasma array's cooling system. Across the lab, the Crithian delegation huddled around their graviton compressor, troubleshooting a resonance frequency issue. The Zeltari student had just finished his preliminary power flow diagrams, and the human had submitted 47 complete designs. Kael'thas pulled up design number 12. Schematics materialized above his datapad. A handheld energy weapon using phased particle acceleration with... He squinted at the configuration with a feedback loop that shouldn't work, except the mathematics checked out. He pulled up design 23, a kinetic system that violated the Kickstar principle of minimum barrel length. Except it didn't actually violate it, it recontextualized the entire principle. Design 31 used an exotic matter compression technique that his own species had theorized was impossible. Every design was unique. Every design was functional. Every design was innovative. His secondary hands trembled as he triggered the emergency faculty signal. Across the laboratory, the human, Emma Johnson, former civilian educator from Earth, now civilian contractor at the academy, hummed a cheerful melody while sketching what appeared to be Design 48. She'd pulled her hair into a messy knot, had a smudge of graphite on her cheek, and looked exactly as relaxed as someone solving a simple puzzle rather than demolishing 10,000 cycles of weapons engineering theory. Instructor Kael'thas, Talana approached, her crystalline voice carrying concern. Is something wrong? I noticed you activated the priority signal. Nothing is wrong with your work, Cadet Talana. Kael'thas kept his voice level through supreme effort. Continue with your examination. Yes, Instructor. She returned to her station, where her single weapon design sprawled across 3 workbenches, a masterwork of theoretical precision that would, when complete, represent everything the Academy taught about proper weapons development. The laboratory doors cycled open. Commandant Zilax entered with the swift, purposeful stride of someone who'd commanded fleets through 3 territorial wars. Behind him came Vexia, the Academy's lead physicist, her sensor array already extended and scanning. This had better be critical, Instructor, Zilax said. I was in session with the Sector Defense Council. Kael'thas simply handed him the datapad. Zilax's primary eyes narrowed as he read, then widened. Then his secondary eyes opened, something Kael'thas had never seen in 4 decades of service. How is this possible? I don't know, Commandant. Vexia plucked the datapad from Zilax's hand, her movements sharp with scientific curiosity. She scrolled through the designs, her breathing accelerating with each one she reviewed. These are all from the human? All 47. She's working on 48 now. Impossible. The complexity alone. No one can maintain this level of innovation across this many designs. There has to be... Vexia pulled up Design 15, ran a full theoretical analysis, and went completely still. This works. This actually works. And it's elegant. The efficiency curve on this is... She scrolled to design 29. By the founders. This one's revolutionary. The energy recapture system would increase effective output by 30% over standard configurations. Zilax moved toward Emma's workstation. The human didn't notice his approach, absorbed in her sketch. Her workspace was chaos compared to the meticulous organizations of the other students. Materials scattered, multiple designs in various states of completion, notes scribbled in her species' primitive written language. "Contractor Johnson," Zilax said. Emma jumped slightly, then smiled up at him. "Oh, hey, Commandant, right? Sorry, I get focused when I'm working. Is something wrong? Did I miss a safety protocol or something?" The assignment was to design one weapon. "Right, yeah," Emma nodded. "Design a weapon from available materials." "That's what I've been doing." "One weapon, contractor, singular." Emma blinked. "Oh, were we only supposed to make one? The instructions said design a weapon, not design one weapon." "I mean, I guess in English the singular and plural can be ambiguous depending on context, but..." She laughed. "Oops. Sorry, I just got into a flow state. Should I stop?" Kael'thas felt his world tilting. "You've created 47 unique functional weapon designs in 4 hours as an accident? Well, I mean, they're not that complicated." Emma gestured at her scattered schematics. Most of them are pretty straightforward applications of the available materials. "Oh, hey, did you want detailed explanations?" "I can add those. I just figured the designs were self-explanatory, but I can definitely write up the theory behind each one if that's part of the grading rubric." Vexia appeared at Zilax's shoulder, thrust the datapad toward Emma. "This one, Design 33. Explain how this is possible." Emma leaned forward, squinting at the schematic. "Oh, that one. Yeah, that was fun. It combines plasma generation with graviton manipulation and a crystalline focusing array. You get a weapon that can punch through energy shields, physical armor, and create a temporary spatial disruption at the impact point. Useful for boarding actions where you need to breach multiple defensive layers quickly. You can't just combine plasma and graviton systems." Kael'thas heard his voice rising. "They operate on fundamentally incompatible energy frequencies." Emma laughed. Actually laughed. "Why not? They're just different energy types. You contain the plasma in a graviton bubble, use the graviton field to accelerate and aim it, then collapse the field on impact. The spatial disruption is actually a bonus from the rapid graviton dissipation. Is there some reason that doesn't work?" "Because the math seemed pretty solid to me. The Vexian Accords on energy compatibility explicitly state..." Kael'thas started. "Oh, is that a legal thing?" Emma interrupted. "Like a treaty. Because I was just looking at physics. If it's against regulations, I can pull that design. No problem." Vexia made a sound like escaping gas. "The Vexian Accords aren't legal restrictions. They're physical laws. Fundamental principles of energy interaction that have governed weapons development for 8,000 cycles." "Huh." Emma looked at Design 33 again. "Well, I mean, this should still work though. Want me to build a prototype? Might take me 20 minutes. The laboratory had gone silent. Every student was now watching the confrontation, their own work forgotten. Talana stood frozen at her workbench, her nearly complete plasma array forgotten. Zilax found his voice. "You're telling me you've casually violated fundamental principles of physics because you didn't know they were meant to be limitations?" "I mean, I didn't violate anything. I just thought about what I wanted the weapon to do, then figured out how to make it do that." Emma shrugged. "That's how I taught shop class back home. Students would come to me and say, 'I want to build a bookshelf or whatever,' and I'd help them figure out how to make their idea real. You start with the goal, then work backward to find the path. Isn't that how everyone does it?" Kael'thas felt something crack in his understanding of the universe. 40 cycles of weapons engineering expertise, 4 advanced degrees, command of theoretical principles that took decades to master, and this human shop teacher was casually explaining that his entire approach was backward. "No," he said quietly, "that is not how everyone does it. We start with theory, We establish principles. We derive applications from those principles. We test within the boundaries of what we know to be possible. Emma's expression shifted to something like sympathy. Oh, well, that would take forever, wouldn't it? Like, if you already know what you want to accomplish, why not just find the fastest way there? Because some things aren't possible, Kael'thas's voice echoed through the laboratory. Sure, some things aren't. But how do you know which ones until you try? Emma gestured at her designs. Like, I probably have a few in here that won't actually work in practice. Real-world testing might reveal issues my calculations missed, but most of them should function fine. The principles are all solid. Vexia was scrolling through designs again, faster now, her movements increasingly agitated. This one uses quantum entanglement for targeting. This one weaponizes dark matter fluctuations. This one shouldn't exist because we only discovered the underlying physics last cycle. She looked up at Emma. How do you know about crystalline resonance theory? That was published 6 months ago in a classified research journal. Crystalline what? Emma asked. Is that the vibration pattern thing? I just noticed that if you oscillate certain crystal matrices at specific frequencies, they amplify energy in interesting ways. Seemed useful for weapon applications. Why? Is that new? New? It's revolutionary. Vexia's voice cracked. You discovered it independently while designing weapons for a classroom examination? Well, discovered is a strong word. I just tried running energy through different materials to see what would happen. The crystals did something cool, so I incorporated it. That's not really discovery, that's just experimentation. Across the laboratory, Talana made a small, distressed sound. Kael'thas turned to see his top student staring at her workstation as if seeing it for the first time. Her magnificent, theoretically perfect plasma array suddenly looked less like a masterwork and more like an overcomplicated solution to a simple problem. How long? Zilax asked. His voice was carefully neutral. How long what? Emma replied. How long did it take you to create each design? Emma thought about it. I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 minutes each. Some were faster. The really simple kinetic ones took like 2 minutes. The exotic matter ones took longer because I had to work through the containment mathematics. Oh, and number 41 took a while because I got distracted thinking about a sandwich. Why? 5 to 10 minutes. Kael'thas looked at his students. They'd spent 4 hours and were still working on their first weapons. Weapons that, according to every principle of proper engineering, should be superior to anything created in mere minutes. Except Emma's designs were better. He'd seen the analyses. Design 12 was more energy efficient than Talana's plasma array. Design 15 accomplished the same function as the Crithian graviton compressor with 1/10 the Wa components. Design 8 was a simple kinetic system that, according to Vexia's calculations, would outperform the most advanced plasma weapons in the Academy's arsenal. Commandant, Kael'thas said, I believe we need an emergency faculty meeting. Agreed. Zilax turned to the students. Cadets, you have the remaining time to complete your examinations. Maintain protocol standards. Instructor Kael'thas will return shortly. He paused at Emma's workstation. Contractor Johnson, please continue with your work. I'm interested to see what your final count will be. Sure thing. Emma picked up her stylus. Oh, quick question. Is there a design limit I should know about? Like a maximum number? I don't want to break any rules. Zilax opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No limit. Design as many as you wish. Cool, thanks. As they left the laboratory, Kael'thas heard Emma humming again, her stylus already moving across her datapad. Behind them, the finest military minds in the galaxy stared at their single, incomplete weapons and wondered what, exactly, they'd spent 3 cycles learning. In the faculty conference room, Vexia had projected all 47 designs across the holographic display. She moved through them with increasing agitation, highlighting features, running calculations, pulling up theoretical frameworks. "This is impossible," she muttered. Not in the figurative sense, in the literal sense. The cognitive load required to maintain this level of innovation across this many designs exceeds the processing capacity of any organic brain we've ever measured. "Yet the human did it," Zilak said. "The human shop teacher did it," Kelthas corrected. "A civilian educator with no formal military training, no advanced degrees in weapons theory, no specialized knowledge of our materials or systems." Vexia pulled up Design 23. "Look at this one. This violates the Kickstar principle of minimum barrel length for kinetic weapons, except it doesn't violate it because she's reinterpreted the entire principle. She's using a spiral acceleration pattern instead of linear, which shouldn't work according to the principle, but mathematically it not only works, it's more efficient. She's accidentally proven that the Kickstar principle, which has governed kinetic weapon design for 6,000 cycles, is not a fundamental law, but a specific application of a more general principle we never discovered." "How many other fundamental laws has she accidentally disproven?" Zilax asked. Vexia was quiet for a long moment. "At least 12. Possibly more. I'd need to run full analyses on each design. But at first review, she's casually demolished multiple principles we've built entire fields of study around." Kael'thas felt a headache building behind his eyes. "And she doesn't even realize she's doing it. To her, this is equivalent to teaching students how to build bookshelves." "What do humans teach their shop students?" Vexia asked, "because clearly they're learning something we're not." "Based on Contractor Johnson's explanation, they teach goal-oriented problem-solving without theoretical constraints." Kael'thas pulled up his own notes from the conversation. "She said she starts with what she wants to accomplish, then finds the fastest path. She doesn't begin with theory and derive applications. She begins with applications and discovers theory." "That's backward," Vexia protested. "Is it?" Zilax steepled his fingers. "Consider. Our method takes cycles to produce weapons engineers. We teach them fundamental principles, establish boundaries of possibility, train them to work within known frameworks. The human method apparently produces someone who can generate 47 revolutionary designs in 4 hours. But our method produces reliable, predictable results," Vexia insisted. "Does it?" Kael'thas gestured at the holographic designs. "Because looking at these, I'm not certain our reliable results are actually superior. They're merely more conventional." Vexia pulled up Design 31, the one using exotic matter compression. "This one particularly bothers me. We theorized this was impossible because exotic matter is inherently unstable. You can't weaponize it because containment fails before you can achieve critical compression. Every simulation we've run confirms this." "But," Zilax prompted, "but she's not trying to contain it conventionally. She's using the instability itself as part of the weapon mechanism. The exotic matter destabilizes and releases energy, which is exactly what you want in a weapon. She's turned the limitation into a feature. It's..." Vexia trailed off, her sensor array dimming. "It's brilliant. And it never occurred to us because we accepted the containment failure as an insurmountable problem." "She didn't know it was supposed to be insurmountable," Kael'thas said quietly. "She saw a material that releases energy when it destabilizes and thought, useful for weapons. No preconceptions, no limiting assumptions." "Which brings us to the critical question," Zilax said. "Is this specifically a human trait, or is this the result of their educational approach? Because if it's the latter, we can teach it. If it's the former..." He left the implications hanging. "We need to understand her methodology," Vexia said. "Run a controlled test. Give her a specific problem and observe her problem-solving process." Kael'thas checked the time. "She has 2 hours remaining in her examination. I suggest we wait until completion, then conduct a demonstration." "Agreed," Zilax stood. "And Instructor Kael'thas, when this examination concludes, you and I need to have a serious discussion about our curriculum. Because if a civilian contractor with no formal training can outperform our elite students by this margin, our training methods may be fundamentally flawed." Kael'thas nodded slowly. 40 cycles of expertise. 4 advanced degrees. A teaching career built on what he'd believed were immutable principles. And in 4 hours, a human shop teacher had shattered his entire understanding of his field. They returned to the laboratory. Talana had completed her plasma array. It was magnificent, a triumph of theoretical engineering. Beside it, on Emma's workbench, sat 63 completed designs and counting. When the 6-hour mark arrived, Kael'thas called time. The students stepped back from their workstations, exhaustion evident in their postures. Talana had completed 2 weapons. The Crithian delegation had 1. The Zeltari student had 1. Across all 12 species represented, the average was 1.3 completed weapons. Emma stretched, rolled her shoulders, and submitted her final design. Number 71. "All right, cadets," Kael'thas announced. "We'll now proceed to the testing chamber for demonstrations. Please prepare your weapons for transport." The testing chamber was a massive, shielded space designed to contain even catastrophic weapon failures. Students filed in, carefully carrying their creations. Emma just grabbed a datapad with her schematics and followed along, still humming that same cheerful melody. Talana went first. Her plasma array was a work of art. 3 interconnected modules that generated, contained, and projected superheated plasma with theoretical precision. She explained the design for 20 minutes, covering power flow, thermal management, targeting systems, and fail-safes. The weapon performed exactly as calculated, delivering a sustained plasma stream that maintained coherence across 50 meters before dissipating. "Excellent work, Cadet Talana," Kael'thas said. The entire faculty nodded approval. This was what proper weapons engineering looked like. "May I try one of mine?" Emma asked. "Please do," Zilak said. Emma pulled up Design 8. "This is just a simple kinetic system, electromagnetic acceleration, basic targeting computer, straightforward power supply." She walked to the material station and started assembling components. No careful planning, no preliminary calculations, just rapid, confident assembly. 10 minutes later, she held up a weapon that looked almost crude compared to Talana's elegant plasma array. She fired it at the test target. The projectile punched through the target, through the reinforced backstop behind it, and embedded itself in the chamber's primary shield with enough force to trigger proximity alarms. Vexia stared at her readouts. That's a 40% higher kinetic energy than Talana's plasma array, with less than 1/10 the complexity. How? Efficiency, mostly. Emma showed her the design. Plasma's great, but you lose a lot of energy to heat dissipation and containment. A simple kinetic system converts almost all input energy to projectile velocity. Less moving parts means less energy waste. Plus, it's way easier to maintain and repair. Talana was staring at her plasma array, 3 cycles of study, countless hours perfecting her understanding of plasma dynamics, a masterpiece of theoretical engineering, and it was less effective than something a human had designed in minutes. "It's still a good design," Emma said gently, noticing Talana's expression. "Plasma has advantages: continuous fire, variable power output, psychological impact, different tools for different jobs. This is just comparing raw damage output." But the damage was done. Kael'thas could see it spreading through the students, the dawning realization that everything they'd learned might be, if not wrong, then at least not the only way, or even the best way. "Contractor Johnson," Zilak said. His voice had the careful neutrality of someone trying to maintain composure. "I have a specific request. We need a weapon that can disable shields without killing the crew. A non-lethal siege weapon for boarding actions. How would you approach this problem?" Emma thought for maybe 3 minutes, her eyes unfocused. "Okay, I've got 4 approaches." 4? "Yeah, you want me to sketch them out?" Without waiting for answer, Emma grabbed a stylus. First option, resonance weapon. Scan the shield frequency and generate a harmonic that causes oscillation amplification until the shield collapses. Second option, energy drain system. basically a really powerful electromagnetic pulse tuned to the shield's power supply frequency, drains their batteries without damaging equipment. Third option, spatial disruption field, create localized gravity anomalies that stress the shield geometry until it fails. And fourth option, just use a really loud sound wave. Most shield systems aren't configured for acoustic frequency defense. You could literally make a really big speaker and blast them with bass until their shields overload. She finished sketching all 4 designs and looked up. That last one's kind of funny, but it'd probably work. Oh, and for all of these, you'd want to add a failsafe that detects life signs and auto-shuts down if biological entities are in the effect zone. Safety first, right? Vexia had gone completely still. Kael'thas recognized the posture. It was the stillness of someone whose entire worldview was crumbling. 3 minutes, Vexia said. You generated 4 novel approaches to a complex problem in 3 minutes, complete with safety systems. I mean, they're not that novel, are they? Emma looked genuinely confused. The resonance thing is just understanding wave mechanics. The energy drain is basic electromagnetic theory. The spatial disruption uses gravity, which you guys obviously have figured out since you have artificial gravity on this station. And the sound wave thing is just sound. Did I miss something? How do you think about problems? Zilax demanded. What is happening in your mind when you design? Emma considered. I guess I just visualize what I want to happen, then think about what physical principles
could cause that to happen, then figure out how to make those principles interact to produce the result. It's like, okay, back home, I taught high school shop class. Students would come in and say, I want to build a thing, and I'd help them figure out how. Sometimes the thing they wanted wasn't possible with available materials, but usually there was a way to make it work. You just had to be creative about combining different approaches. But you must have studied theoretical frameworks, Kael'thas said. Learned fundamental principles, established boundaries of possibility. Emma laughed. I mean, I know physics and materials science, sure, but I never really thought about them as boundaries. They're more like tools. If I know how something behaves, I can use that behavior. And if something's supposed to be impossible, I usually try it anyway, just to see what happens. Sometimes impossible just means nobody's figured it out yet. The silence in the testing chamber was absolute. Our entire education system, Vexia said slowly, is designed to teach students what is possible within established frameworks. We give them boundaries, then teach them to work within those boundaries. We call this proper engineering discipline. Sure, Emma said. That makes sense for, like, safety-critical systems where you can't afford to experiment. But for new designs? Why would you limit yourself before you even start? Because unlimited experimentation leads to failures, Kael'thas protested. Well, yeah, sometimes. Emma shrugged. That's why you test things before you use them, but if you never try things that might fail, you never discover things that might work better. Right, Kael'thas wanted to argue, wanted to explain 10,000 cycles of established weapons engineering theory, wanted to defend the principles he'd built his career on. But he was staring at 71 designs that invalidated those principles through sheer practical effectiveness. May I see the rest of your designs? Vexia asked quietly. Sure, Emma handed over her datapad. For the next hour, Vexia went through them, explaining each one to the assembled faculty and students, design after design that either improved on established concepts or introduced entirely new approaches. Some were incremental improvements. Others were revolutionary. All of them worked. The Crithian student broke first. I do not understand. We studied for 3 cycles. We learned from the greatest weapons engineers in 12 species. We were selected as the best of billions. How can a human civilian design better weapons in minutes than we can design in hours? Emma looked genuinely sympathetic. It's not about being better or smarter. I think you guys just got taught a lot of rules about what you can't do, and those rules slow you down. You're all brilliant. I've seen your work, and it's incredibly sophisticated.
Way more complex than anything I designed. But sometimes complex isn't what you need. Sometimes you just need something that works. But our designs do work, Talana said. They do. They're amazing. They're just maybe a bit over-engineered. Emma gestured at Talana's plasma array. Like, this is beautiful. The thermal management system is gorgeous. I've never seen such efficient heat dissipation, but you probably didn't need that much efficiency. A simpler system that runs hotter would work fine for most applications, cost less, be easier to maintain, and leave you more design time to work on other features. Talana stared at her masterpiece, 3 cycles of study distilled into one perfect creation, and it was over-engineered. What do human schools teach? Zilax asked. Besides shop class, what creates this mindset? I don't know. Maybe we just get encouraged to try stuff. Emma thought about it. Like, in school, teachers would give us problems and say, figure it out. We'd mess around, try different approaches, fail a bunch, and eventually find something that worked. Nobody told us what was impossible, or if they did, we usually tried it anyway, just to see. Kids are curious, you know? And I guess that curiosity just continues. We don't really see limitations as fixed boundaries, more like challenges to work around. You never learned that some things can't be done, Kael'thas said. No, we learned that. We just also learned that can't be done often means can't be done that way, instead of can't be done at all. Emma smiled. There's usually another approach if you look for it. Zilax turned to his faculty. We need to redesign our curriculum, immediately. Commandant, you can't be suggesting we abandon established theoretical frameworks, Kael'thas started. I'm suggesting we're teaching limitations before we teach possibilities. We're training our students to work within boundaries instead of teaching them to question whether those boundaries are real. Zilax gestured at Emma's designs. Look at these. Every single one questions something we accepted as fundamental, and they work better because of it. But we can't just turn our students loose without theoretical grounding, Vexia protested. Then we teach theory after application, Zilax said. We let them discover what works, then explain why it works. Human innovation method. Goal first, theory second. Emma raised her hand tentatively. I feel like maybe I should mention that I'm not some kind of engineering genius. Like, I taught high school. My students were 15-year-olds making birdhouses and toolboxes. This isn't advanced human methodology. It's just basic problem solving. Any human could probably do this if you gave them the materials and asked them to make weapons. That statement hung in the air like an unexploded ordnance. Any human, Vexia repeated. Well, yeah. I mean, some would be better at it than others. People have different skills, but the basic approach of figure out what you want, then figure out how to make it is pretty universal. It's just how you solve problems. Kael'thas felt something fundamental shift in his understanding of the universe. It wasn't that humans were somehow superior engineers. It was that they'd never been taught the limitations that other species accepted as universal truth. They questioned everything, tried everything, failed, learned, and tried again. No preconceptions, no limiting assumptions. And because of that, a shop teacher could outperform the galaxy's elite weapons engineers. Contractor Johnson, Zilax said formally. On behalf of the Galactic Military Academy, I would like to offer you a permanent consulting position. We need your expertise to help redesign our weapons engineering program. Emma blinked. Oh, that's really nice, but I don't have expertise. I just taught shop class. I'm not qualified to redesign military education. You've just demonstrated that you're more qualified than anyone in this room, Zilax said. You've accomplished in 6 hours what would take our best engineers' cycles to achieve. You've invalidated fundamental principles we've built entire fields of study around. You've done it casually, while humming, as if it were obvious. Because it kind of is obvious, Emma said. You guys just make it complicated. That, Kael'thas said, is precisely why we need you. 6 months later, the Galactic Military Academy unveiled its revised curriculum. The human innovation method was now taught in the first cycle, before students learned traditional theoretical frameworks. Students were given problems and told to solve them without being taught what was impossible first. Theory came after successful application, explaining why their solutions worked instead of constraining what solutions they could attempt. Failure rates initially skyrocketed. Students accustomed to working within established boundaries struggled with open-ended problem-solving. But those who adapted began producing innovative designs that rivaled Emma's work in creativity, if not yet in volume. The other galactic military academies adopted similar approaches. Some species struggled more than others. Those with highly structured educational traditions found it particularly difficult to embrace chaos-first learning. But results spoke for themselves. Weapons development that used to take cycles now took months. Innovations emerged from unexpected sources. Fundamental principles that had stood for millennia were questioned, tested, and often revised. In the Academy laboratory, Kael'thas supervised a new batch of students. They were working on their first open-ended challenge, designing weapons without theoretical constraints. The chaos was controlled now. They'd learned how to scaffold the learning process, but the fundamental approach remained the same. Start with the goal. Find the path. Question everything. Emma stopped by periodically to consult, though she maintained she was just a shop teacher and didn't understand why they needed her input. She'd review student designs, make gentle suggestions, and occasionally demolish some newly discovered fundamental limitation with a casual observation like, "But have you tried just not doing it that way?" Today, she was reviewing submissions for an advanced tactics challenge. She finished the last design and looked up at Kael'thas. "These are good," she said. "They're starting to get it. Less over-engineering, more creative material use. This one," she pulled up a Vexian student's design, "is actually more efficient than my design 23. I like the crystalline matrix arrangement. Very clever." Kael'thas felt a surge of pride. His students were learning, not to match Emma's natural problem-solving ability. That might take generations, but to question their assumptions, test their limits, and think beyond traditional boundaries. "You've revolutionized our entire approach to weapons engineering," he told her. Emma laughed. "You guys revolutionized it. I just showed you that your rules were more flexible than you thought. You did the hard part, changing 10,000 cycles of tradition. That takes real courage." "You've been doing this for 40 cycles," Emma had told him once. "It must be hard to question everything you've built your career on." It had been. It still was. But watching his students create designs that he'd never have thought possible under the old system, that made it worthwhile. Emma checked the time. "Ooh, I'm late for my meeting with the theoretical physics department. They want to talk about some paradox I accidentally resolved while designing a faster-than-light communication system. Apparently, I violated causality in a useful way." She shrugged. "I don't really understand what the big deal is, but they seem excited." She walked out, humming that same cheerful melody, leaving Kael'thas to contemplate the fact that this human had accidentally resolved a causality paradox while designing a communication system. Just another Tuesday for Emma Johnson, shop teacher. Across the galaxy, military theorists were still processing the implications. The careful boundaries they'd constructed, the fundamental limitations they'd accepted as universal truth, were being dismantled one casual human observation at a time. Every species now questioned their most basic assumptions. If weapons engineering principles could be so thoroughly revised, what else might be wrong? What other impossibilities were simply unopened doors? Emma's design, 47, the one that combined plasma and graviton systems in ways that violated the Vexian Accords, was now classified at the highest military levels. Not because it was dangerous, though it was extremely effective.